Hey, it's Eric G. Around the House is sponsored by Baldwin Hardware. For 75 years, Baldwin Hardware has been known for its first-class quality and craftsmanship in door and cabinetry hardware. As an alumnus of the Baldwin Hardware Design Council, I can say I have seen the details and quality from design to the finished product. If you're looking for a new style and old-world craftsmanship, I can tell you there is only one Baldwin Hardware. Check out what would look great in your home at baldwinhardware.com.
It's Around the House. When it comes to remodeling and renovating your home, there is a lot to know, but we've got you covered. This is Around the House.
Welcome to the Around the House show, the next generation of home improvement. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Eric G. If you want to find out more about us, head over to aroundthehouseonline.com, or you can give me a call here in the studio at 833-239-4144. That number again is 833-239-4144. We are in the weekday update. It's the 10th of July. What is going on? We just got done with a big heat wave here, and we're going to be in the 90s and almost 100. So we are smack dab in the middle of summer here in the Pacific Northwest where I'm located. But today I wanted to talk about protecting your home a little bit and making sure that you're protecting it from, of course, wildfires and floods. Since we've had hurricanes and storms out there, I just wanted to make sure that we touched on some new ideas that could help you get this stuff along and make sure that you're protecting your home and what to deal with it if this stuff does come up. So first off, my tips to making sure that you slow down or even stop water damage from heavy storms out there. The first one, make sure that you got your downspouts and gutter systems, that whole gutter and downspout system going into a storm drain system. So I want this to not just go down to the bottom of the foundation and kick out onto the ground. I want this to go into a system that takes the water either downhill or down to the street if your house is higher, which is good. Also, make sure and check your local building code on that, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. Basically, that water, when it comes out, whether it's going into the ground or going out and daylighting onto the yard or someplace like that or into landscaping, that needs to be 10 feet away and downhill from any structure. Because what happens is when you put a lot of water next to a foundation, you can damage that concrete. And time again, I've seen, especially with older houses, with older concrete, stuff that's 80 to 100 years old, it will quickly do foundation damage. And if you've got clay soils, it will do a lot of damage there as well. So you want that to go well away from the house. Now, sometimes, and it depends on your city and how they've done stormwater and things like that, in some areas, they will let you run that down to the street and go into the storm drain system there. Other places, that could be a fine. So you want to make sure what you can get away with stormwater control. But if you're in an area that freezes, for instance, I don't recommend that it goes across, for instance, the sidewalk or something like that. Many sidewalks and stuff in areas where they let you do this, you can run it into a pipe and it'll come out through a hole in the curb, for instance. So there's ways to do that. There's a lot of different ways. I just don't want you having that water running across a sidewalk because if it gets icy or something like that, it's a danger to the public and it's hard to maintain. And that'll always be a slimy area if you get frequent rains. So that's the first one there. Just get that water away from that foundation, get it downhill, get it away from it. If you you've got dry soil around there, if you could put it into a dry well or any way to control that water, just get it away from the structure. Second of all, you make sure that those gutters and downspouts are never plugged. Make sure that they are cleaned out, ready to go, so that it'll accept inches of rain if you have that kind of storm. Maybe you don't get hurricanes where you're at, but you get summer storms and thunderstorms that comes in and all of a sudden you got 3 inches of rain. You just want to make sure that's controlling that water. Because if you think about it, each one of those downspouts in a heavy rainstorm can get 50 to 100 gallons of water pretty quickly. And so you want to make sure that you're getting that away from this side of the house where it'll do damage. And then make sure that bushes and trees and stuff are not touching the structure, not where they can rub up against something, damage something, scrape up the paint, put bugs into the house. Just keep everything back away from the structure. And here's the other one too. If you get water inside the house. Oh my gosh, it's leaking in around the chimney, or it's leaking someplace around in the home through the roof or through a window or something like that. You have hours to get this cleaned up. And if it's been sitting there for over 24 hours wet, then you just need to start treating that like water damage and start dealing with the mold and mildew and stuff that you need to dry out, because at that point you've got it growing and you might as well just start working on it. So if you've got severe water in the basement and you don't realize it's down there, or a super wet crawl space, you're going to have to deal with that, which could mean mold abatement issues down there. So check with your insurance company. If you have, and this is one little tip and trick, if you're dealing with your insurance company, don't call up and say you had a flood. Make sure that if it's groundwater coming in, maybe it is a flood. But if it's hey, I had a leaky basement wall. Okay, you have a leaky basement wall. Don't call it a flood, because they might say, oh, you don't have flood insurance. And maybe it wasn't a flood. Maybe it was a broken pipe on the downspout out there that caused the damage. So you want to make sure to be careful when you report this stuff. Choose your words carefully. It might be the difference of whether you have coverage or not. So that's another tip right there. But really making sure you get that cleaned up, and do not use bleach to clean up mold. Do not. Just put it away. It will work on hard surfaces, but use things like concrobium and all the other great cleaners out there. Hydrogen peroxide will kill mold, but you need to make sure that you're out there cleaning it with the proper stuff, and bleach is not it. So don't use bleach. Just take that off your list of mold cleaning products. Hey, it's Eric G from Around the House. Are you tired of low quality water in your home? Do you have bad tasting water? How about chemicals, minerals, and hard water scale tearing up your bathrooms, appliances, and your water heater? I have a great solution for you. It's time you stop the damage and check out King Water Filtration. This water treatment system takes care of every drop of water that comes into your home. It uses no salt, no expense filters to change, and it's made right here in the USA. Plus, it prevents hard water scale. To find out more information, head to kingwaterfiltration.com, and if you use promo code ERIC-23, it will give you $1,000 off MSRP with a discount on a filter that will resolve those water quality issues. Don't miss out on this amazing sale on a product made right here in the USA at kingwaterfiltration.com. That's kingwaterfiltration.com. And don't forget promo code ERIC-23. It will cause more harm than good. It will hurt you and not help you. So just put the bleach away. Now, the other thing is if you're in a flood zone and you're doing landscaping or projects around the house, is there a way to landscape to help you control water? For instance, I lived in a house that was at the end of a street. So it was a T intersection, and water could run down there. I actually went in and put in a raised flower bed that kind of, if water came up over the curb and came around and hit that, like it was coming towards the front driveway or the front part of my house, my creative landscaping helped soften the load of direct water coming at my house. And so it created kind of a little bit of a backstop for water coming down. Is there something you can do with that? And I'm not saying create a moat around your house, because that could also trap water in as much as it pushes water out. But what can you do creatively, landscaping wise, to make sure that you've got some kind of a program there to do that? I have seen people that maybe get an inch or two of water in their backyard when they get these type of floods, where they'll put in a French drain system. And what they'll do is they'll dig a trench around the perimeter of the yard. They'll put down a nice gravel in the bottom of that with a French drain. So we'll put in a perforated pipe that will go down into a sump pump, for instance, and pump it out to an area that will able to control the water, maybe out to the street, maybe to another area that will let it run downhill. But basically, you can control that water if you give it a place to go. So what I do is I dig a trench around it, and I'll have it going away from that area, you have to let gravity and Mother Nature do her thing here. But what I do is I fill that all the way up to the top with gravel. And so I want bigger rocks so the water can go down. And if you just go like 3/4 minus, the fines will pack in and it's harder to drain. So I want to go with a little bit bigger rock. And if you go with that bigger rock, it will let it drop down into that drain system, and it'll take that surface water away. But then you just have to be able to, that's great for a low area, but it will not fix any kind of a flood, because of course you have to take that water and put it someplace else. And no, in most areas you cannot pump that into your basically into your sewer system, that could be a big fine for you, and I don't want to see that. You don't want to put it into a septic system or anything like that. But if you do have a system that was designed for a dry well or something like that was properly designed, you might be able to put it in there. Just be careful, because all of a sudden you could be overflowing your gutters by overloading that system. So be very careful with that. And then the other thing is there are products out there that you can use that will help you for small floods. There's a product called Quick Dam where you can take it out, and as it gets wet, it expands out and it can stop 4 inches of water, which isn't too bad. That's pretty good for keeping water from coming into your pool area or around the front of a garage door, things like that. And then there is that Flex Tape flood prevention product, which is a mixture of tape and caulking and putty that you can put around doors and openings and vents and things like that supposedly peels back off. And it is very expensive. I think it would work, but you're not going to get, it's going to stop water from rushing in. But the front of your house is typically not waterproof unless it's something very new. So it could stop water from coming in around a doorway or around a garage door or things like that, but it's not going to stop it from coming in nail holes and things like that across the front of your house. So that is something right there. Now, if we're talking wildfires, here's my tips here, because I can see the smoke coming into town this morning. And it's already out there, so this is what I like to do. First off, make sure you have nothing combustible around the outside of your house. So make sure that any of the leaves and brush, dead plants, all that's away. Make sure that your grass is well watered. If you have lawn out there, let it be green. Don't let it be yellow, because if it's yellow, that's combustible. And then as you're planning, make sure and take some time. If you have fences that come up against your house, think about using metal instead, because a cedar fence will burn. Metal fences won't. So anytime that you can use a metal gate, metal fence, something like that, that could stop or be a fire stop right there. So make sure you've got that. And then, of course, keeping all those branches and everything trimmed away from the front of your house and keeping that defensible barrier around it. You'd be surprised how much you can do by just cleaning up around and making sure that that fence isn't up against the house. And of course, if you've got fire coming, making sure that you get that fence at least wetted down and maybe help that along a little bit. But you got to be careful there. And then just make sure you've got a go pack, so when you have to evacuate, you can go out the door. All right, everybody, this is our midweek update, and thanks for tuning in today. If you want to find out more about us, head over to aroundthehouseonline.com. And if you want to hear a subject that we haven't talked about, make sure and send me a message over to Around the House Online. Now, make sure you're prepared for our summer storms out there, guys, whether you're in Texas just dealing with a hurricane, or you're in California dealing with a wildfire, or even a wildfire in the northern states, or even a hurricane going up the East Coast. We're just getting started to this storm season, so everybody be safe out there. And of course, with all of this, make sure you've got enough provisions for you, your family, your pets, and all that stuff ready to go. So have the water, have the food, make sure you've got backup shelter, and just plan ahead a little bit, and it will make life a little bit easier, and it could save your life. Thanks for tuning in to Around the House. We'll see you Saturday for a brand new show.
Anywhere beyond the mean, life is a love song, let's be lovers. We're all over the radio, take my hand, I know where to go. All over the radio with you.
Hey, it's Eric G. with Around the House. Are you looking to grow your business? Need a spokesperson for your company? Maybe an MC for an upcoming trade show, or maybe you want to up your game and shoot some promotional videos. My team of experts would love to chat with you. Head to aroundthehouseonline.com and fill out the contact us form, and we'll set something up. Thanks for listening to Around the House.